Hello to everybody out there in this great big world. Yes, this is your brother Dana coming to you from Chicago. Shalom, shalom to all of my precious Hebrew family members. I hope you know that I love you, I appreciate you, and I am so honored and grateful that you have accepted me. And I want to just encourage you that you are kings and queens. You are royalty. And soon, it just won't be me that knows it, but it will be the whole world. On Saturday night, a few days ago, I closed a chapter of my life. I'm going to call it the Misty chapter. This little light that the Most High Yah gave me several years ago, I had to put her out. Several years ago, on my way back from South Africa, the Most High Yah spoke three things to me. He said, son, you will understand Peter, you will understand the woman with the issue of blood, and you will understand Lazarus. Well, upon getting off that plane here in the States, that Sunday, the church where I was a youth pastor at informed me that due to budget cuts, I was cut. Because of my stand for racial injustice, several white churches who were supporting my work like a domestic missionary, as one said, you need to go work for President Obama, for you fight for justice for blacks more than you fight to spread the gospel. And so my monthly income, when I could not get a full-time job, dwindled to nothing. And then soon after that, I found that I had some medical conditions that only with the touch of deliverance from the Most High Yah would take it away. But I was still yet to fully understand what the Most High Yah meant when he said, you will understand Lazarus. See, I know even to this day that I have to keep my eyes on Yeshua so that I can continue to walk on the water on this journey of faith that he's placed me on to do his will. But Lazarus, and I believe, like the woman with the issue of blood, that at the right timing, the Most High Yah, for his glory and my good, will bring complete, total healing. But Lazarus, soon after the churches denied me, I was kicked out of Cook County Jail. Yes, I was kicked out of Cook County Jail. I know it was because they didn't like the work that I was doing. And one of the guards had lied and said I did something that was against protocol, which when they asked me to leave and I asked them what I did, they refused to give me that answer. And so when I was ushered out of Cook County Jail, where most people would rejoice to be ushered out, I wept because I loved to go into Cook County Jail, and I loved to fellowship with my friends that I had made as iron sharpened iron, and we sat down and we shared and encouraged each other and opened up the mighty word of the Most High Yah. And then shortly after that, I got a call from one of the guys out on the street that I had met. Because see, for years I would walk the gang-infested streets and I would just silently, privately pray. Pray that God would protect these warriors, these kings that were out on the street. Protect them and give them grace until the injustices or things would change. Until they grabbed on the hope of God and would overcome the obstacles that were laid before them in this country to hinder them from living like kings. Because I wanted them to live and not die. I wanted them to be free and not locked up so they could declare the glory that the Most High Yah is true. But I got a call from them because I had been given a large sum of money, and so I bought some property on one of these streets here on the west side to build a youth center called Studio 2911. And this youth center was based on Jeremiah 29:11, that in all things we need to have hope, for without hope, as my pastor in Africa told me, you will always have a ceiling on expectations in life and on God. And so as we would gather, sometimes 2-3 times a week, now there was no electricity, there was no heat. It was in the middle of being turned into a funeral home. So we put some tarps in this building. I brought in a gas heater, but yet the guys would come off the street several times a week to fellowship and to write their hopes on this wall that we would pray for. But he called me and he said, Pastor, I know they hate us. They're tearing down your property. And within minutes, this property was torn down by the city of Chicago, leaving me with a bill of $30-some thousand, as I already paid thousands of dollars because they would fine me for a weed. That's when I began to really hit depression. But shortly after that, my mom and dad bought me this little puppy. They knew I loved dogs. I was going to be a small animal vet before the Most High Yah said, no, I have another purpose for you. And so he took away my tolerance for blood. But he never took away my love for animals, and especially dogs. And so my parents bought me, because I didn't have money, this little puppy. And I named her Misty. And during this season that I wrestled with the Most High Yah as I tried to understand what he meant by understanding Lazarus, in some of my deepest, darkest days, it was this little light that he gave me that literally kept me from filling one of the exit letters I was writing to my mom and dad, asking them to please adopt Misty, to not let her go to a stranger. But I remember looking down at her eyes, and it was that light that kept me from fulfilling that note. But I wrestled, and I called out to the Most High Yah saying, what am I doing? Why are you taking everything away? Then I got people to start judging me, saying, well, he's taking it away because don't you understand these people don't want you? Look, you've been robbed so many times. You know, now you don't have any finances left and the church has asked you to go and you're 3-4 years behind in mortgage. Come on, Dana. Come on, Job. What else do you need to see? What else do you need to hear to understand it's over? But I didn't feel it was over, so I continued to wrestle. But I didn't hear anything. He didn't speak to me. He was silent. Until one day he finally said, son, I asked you to consider Lazarus. So yes, Lazarus was sick, and his sisters went and told Jesus, and the message got to him at least, and I'm sure it got back to them, and they went into the room and said, Lazarus, hold on, I know you're sick, but hold on. We know that Yeshua, he knows that you're ill, so you know what, it's about a day's journey, just wait. But then the Most High said to me, but what went through his mind after that day passed? Maybe Lazarus was thinking, well, of course it might take a little bit longer because he maybe had to stop to eat. He was hungry, stop to rest. But as another period of time went by, what do you think went through Lazarus' mind? I could only think of what was going through my mind. Maybe I offended Yeshua. Maybe I've sinned or am sinning. Maybe he doesn't love me like I thought he did. Maybe I hurt him. But he said, that he had to let Lazarus pass away, not only for the good of those around, but also for the good of Lazarus. As time went on and the naysayers continued to degrade me and tell me that again, that this is partly punishment because you're talking more about justice for blacks than you are the gospel. The Lord spoke to me and he said, no. Just like I raised Lazarus, I will raise you. I will let people bury you, my son. Right now, they are burying you with words that did not come from me, but came from them. Why? Because they truly don't know me. See, my son, Yeshua cried and wept, not because of the sadness of the death of Lazarus. He wept because the very people that were as close as they were to him really did not know him. He said, if Mary and Martha and those really knew my son Yeshua, they wouldn't have buried him. They wouldn't have put death clothing on him. They would have left him in the room and said, well, we don't know what to do, but we do know that Yeshua was a man that turned water into wine, that raised the dead, or that gave the deaf hearing and the blind sight. So let us leave Lazarus right here and let Yeshua take care of this when he gets here. But they didn't know me as well as they thought they did. So they took matters into their own hands, just like all of those around you. And they burying you with their words, with their insults, with their condemnation, with their stones, with their rocks, with their dirt. But as I raised Lazarus, I will raise you. Then one Sunday after I had gotten out of church, I went to Food for Less, because the food was less. And as I was checking out and then getting ready to walk out of the store, I heard this lady's voice behind me say, Pastor, Pastor, Pastor. And because I was still really down and out and I didn't feel like really talking, but I figured this is somebody that knows me and how rude it would be to not turn around and say hi. I did. But I didn't recognize her. I thought I'd never seen her. And she says, I knew you were a pastor. She says, you don't know me. You've never seen me, but I've seen you. She said, last Wednesday, just a few days ago, I walked in the TJ Maxx, and she said, when I walked in, she said there was this ray of light, and she says, I can't tell you if it was coming from the ground going up or if it was like a spotlight coming down. But when I looked back there, this light was encompassing you. You were in the center of this light. And the Lord told me to go back and to tell you that you will rise again, and that He loves you and He's called you for a purpose, and that your wrestling with Him is not in vain. But she said, I got a little sidetracked. Got my daughter some of the clothing that we came in there, and she said, I know you were in the pet section, which was right, because I was back there getting a few little things for my little girl, my little light, Misty. But then you were gone. She said, I got out into the car, and she said, I began to weep, because she said, I knew that the message that God had for me to deliver for you could have even been hinged on your very life or death. And she said, I asked God to send somebody who would be obedient to do it right away. And the Lord spoke back to her and said, no, you will see him again. And she said, now here it is Sunday. I walk in here and that same beam of light was there. And the Lord told me to go now and tell him. And she says, I'm here to tell you that you will raise up again, that the Lord will call you out of the pit of grave that people have put you in. That so often when we wrestle with the Most High Yah like Jacob did, we experience the judgment of naysayers. But see, I'm somebody that doesn't want to just do something unless I wrestle at times with the Most High Yah to get a full understanding of what it is he needs from me, or what it is he's trying to get me to let go. And so she spoke all these things that I knew only the Most High Yah could tell her to tell me, because those were the things that were hidden deep down in my heart. And then she prayed. And by the time I opened my eyes and walked out, there was a crowd of people. Some were weeping, some were rejoicing. But I knew that God was glorified through that. So then I went back into my car and I thanked the Lord for speaking to me. Well, several years later, the Most High Yah revealed this revelation to me of who you, the true chosen people, are 5 years ago. And it was at that moment that I was coming out of over 8 years of loneliness, depression, sadness, pain. But it was these years as I wrestled with the Most High Yah in understanding who I am when it comes to Lazarus, and trying to keep my eyes on Yeshua HaMashiach so that I would stay afloat and not worrying about the medical condition that wanted to take my life, is when he said, this is where now I'm calling you out of the grave. See, he said, even though it was for the good of those around to see that I, my son, Yeshua HaMashiach, had the power to raise the dead from life, he also said that when I called Lazarus out of that tomb, Lazarus would have always known my voice, and him and I would have a relationship that regardless of where I would call him to go, he would know if it was my voice or not. And he says, I'm calling you into an uncharted territory where you have never gone. And if you don't know my voice, son, you will be led astray. Years after that, like I said, is when he revealed through his voice that you, my black brothers and sisters, African Americans, are the true chosen people of the Most High Yah. You are the Hebrews. And in that, Christianity and the religion of it that serves white superiority was a voice that I would no longer listen to. But see, through those years of wrestling with the Most High Yah, him allowing me to be buried, he said, like Lazarus, I'm calling you out and you will know my voice. And every person, because see, he said, Yeshua said, take these death clothing off him, because Yeshua never put those death clothing on Lazarus. It was the people around Lazarus that he wept, Jesus wept for, because they didn't even understand fully who Yeshua HaMashiach really was. And they, unknowingly, and some knowingly, put death clothing. People put death clothing on me. Destroyed my name. said that I was a defender of the rights of blacks more than I was spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ. That I was an anti-white person. That I was brainwashed. And that you should not support a man like me. So why am I sharing this story to you? Because on Saturday, the little light that the Most High Yah gave me to help me through that chapter of my life, I had to put to sleep. I believe she had gotten some cancer. And because she was so close to me that I remember a couple months back when I traveled to Washington, D.C. to speak and do a documentary on this truth and revelation of the Most High Yah. I actually began to cry because every time I'd go get my suitcase, this little girl who knew me so well would begin to whine because I was leaving. And then when I would walk out the door, I would hear her scratch on the door and cry and whine and cry. And because I loved her and because she was my little light, that at times it was her and that kept me from doing things that would have taken my life, I would feel bad about abandoning her, but my love for the Most High Yah and His calling was more important to me. But there was that struggle. And so I cried out to the Father and I said, I can't keep going through this. You got to help Misty. Saturday night, as I believe her illness began to affect her, she went after another little puppy dog of mine. And in trying to separate them, she bit me. And after she bit me, I could tell she knew right away, oh my God. And she ran into her little crate and she began to, I could tell, regret what she did, come back. But I knew at this time that the illness was such that I had to let her go. And so I shared this because as I wrestled again with the Most High Yah and my emotions of my love for this little girl that had loved me and been with me, sometimes we would sit on a park bench for hours and I would kind of cry and she would just sit there and pretty soon she'd fall asleep on my lap. I had to make a decision whether or not I was going to follow the Most High Yah or if I was going to refrain from facing the pain of losing her that I knew I was about to face. And so I got into the car, and as I drove, those emotions would come up, and several of the exits, I put my blinker on because my mind began to justify, maybe I could go and get a trainer. Maybe I could do this. Maybe I could do this. But in my heart, I knew that I had to let her go. Not just because she was ill, but because I wasn't the broken man. I'm not that broken man anymore. And so this little light of mine now was in a season of hindering me from going to the next phase, the next chapter. And so I fought through those exits. I got to the emergency because this was about 10 o'clock at night. I got to the emergency ER and I called them and I told them what I wanted to do and what I needed to do, and they said okay, but they said due to COVID you would not be able to come in. And anytime somebody would take Misty's leash at the vet, to get her shots, she would turn around and put her heels down and say, no, don't take me from him, don't take me from him. And in my mind and in my heart, I couldn't bear to watch this happen. And so I sat right there in my car and I prayed to the Most High Yah and said, Father, please give me the strength, but also please give me the favor that I would be allowed to be next to her as we put her down. And do you know that this doctor gave me the privilege to do that and gave me a little room where they brought me in and I sat down and I had Misty with me, and then they said, well, we got to take her to put a catheter in her leg where we will inject the fluid. And just like I told you, when they took her away, she turned around and looked and said, don't let them take me, don't let them take me. They brought her back, and as soon as she got into the room, she jumped into my lap. And then the veterinarian explained to me the 3 different things that they would put into this catheter, which I knew because I was going to be a vet. But the first one was to help her to go to sleep. The second one was to stop her heart. And the third one would solidify. And so I had Misty in my arms to release her, to release the pain that was in her from those years of wrestling, and to release the comfort that I still would get from her. And the vet would say, I'm putting in the first one for her to go to sleep. And it was cold. She would shake and I would hold her and say, Misty, you're my baby girl. You okay? She put the one in for the heart to stop. And then she put the last one. And we looked at Misty, and Misty was licking me in the face, and Misty was there, and the vet said, it didn't work. I'm going to have to take her. I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to take her back and put a catheter in another one of her legs. And to see this little girl turn around and look at me with those eyes like, why is she taking me away from you again? Was probably the biggest emotional pain I had to fight. But I had to say, no, Father, I need to do what you've called me to do. I have to release her. They brought her back. She jumped back into my legs and my lap because I was sitting on the floor with her. And just as the veterinarian had said, they put the first one in, and within 15 seconds, she began to go to sleep. And I walked away with her leash, laying to rest. Not only this little light, little Misty that was in my life, but also that chapter of my life. And so I bring this all up to those of you, regardless of where you are in your journey, that it is okay for us to process, to wrestle. Many of you contact me and said you were feeling guilty because some of you still put up a Christmas tree. Some of you are still fighting different things that meant a lot to you during your walk in Christianity. And that you felt guilty because you still wanted to celebrate Christmas even though maybe you didn't. Or you still, because of this, and I'm bringing this to you as somebody that desires to be authentic. As someone that has walked through my season of wrestling with the Most High Yah, you will get lots of people that will tell you if you just don't do it this way or this. See, unlike my white evangelical family members that wore a cross, but yet you saw the reality of who they were, I never want to be an individual that wears a cross or even a fringe And yet when you see who I really am, you'll shake your head like, what? But for 4 years, even before I stopped putting up a Christmas tree, I wrestled with the Most High Yah. And in His due season, He gave me the strength and the grace with the healing that I had to be healed from to let it go. So this week, I was supposed to go out to Atlanta and to do a documentary to share this truth. And I had a few other things planned to do for ministry and the Most High Yah. I canceled them because this week, I'm going to use it to process the hurt, the memories, the pain of losing this little light in my life that I know has been a blessing that the Most High Yah gave me. But because my desire is to serve Him even more than to hold on to this little girl, I had to release her. And so I hope you that have gotten to this point at the video will allow yourself to walk one-on-one with the Most High Yah. And the things that you may have to wrestle with Him may be different than what other people might have to wrestle with. See, when the dog bit me, Misty bit me 1.5 years ago when I had to have hand surgery. And to be honest with you, my hand, I'm learning how to rewrite. And so many people came to me right away and said, you need to put her down. That dog, put her down, this. But see, only I knew really what was behind when she bit me. And at that time, I had a girl dog in the house that I had purchased to help Misty when I would leave. But Misty's emotions of wanting Dana and only Dana caused her one day to bite at Atara. And in the process of me reaching to separate them, I got bit in the hand and ended up going through surgery. This time when I got much more of a minor bite, I knew it was solidified from the Most High that I had to let her go. So to you who's wrestling with the Most High Yah, even in this new journey of understanding the truth that you are a true Hebrew, a true chosen of the Most High Yah, or that you are like me coming out of the religion of Christianity as a Caucasian individual. One Love is a place where we want to offer you the safety to wrestle. Because we know that all of us who wrestle with Him and are determined to fight, to understand as much as we can with Him, He will not let us go until we do. And while we wrestle, others may judge us or think that we need to carry on. But I hope and pray that this video and my testimony or my story of this chapter in my walk with Misty and the Most High Yah will encourage you. In spite of, regardless, wrestle. He will, and He is faithful to complete that which He started in us. And now, because I am not that broken man in those areas anymore, and I'm stronger, these birth pains are only for me now to go into the next season of the calling that the Most High Yah has on my life. And Misty, unfortunately, just cannot be a part of that season. And that's why I had to let her go. And I pray that when you wrestle and you get to your place, that you will have the strength to overcome whatever it is, fear, pain, to let it go, so that you can walk in your newness of healing and strength that you and I obtain every time we wrestle with Him. If it is our desire to seek Him and to serve Him with all of our heart. To you I say shalom.